I'll just say this. It's crazy that someone as plain as you is getting married before me. You'd look better in that old dress, and even the groom and guests will say that to your face. I heard my sister's harsh words next to my ruined wedding dress. My heart sank with sadness. But as her older sister, I couldn't let her keep acting like this. I was determined to show her how happy I am and make her regret her bad behavior. My name is Amy. I'm 30 years old, and after dating Scott for 5 years, we recently submitted our marriage registration. Our wedding is coming up soon. Preparing the wedding invitations, choosing the food, and selecting the flower decorations has been tough, but thinking of it as a way to show thanks to everyone who has supported us keeps me going. One thing I've been especially focused on is my wedding dress. Wearing a wedding dress is a once-in-a-lifetime moment, and I've dreamed of wearing a pure white one since I was little. I spent quite a lot on it, and sometimes I wonder if it was the right choice. I think that dress suits you best, Amy. And it's been your dream, right? You've saved for it for so long, Scott told me. Thank you, Scott. Yes, it's a special day, so I'll wear the dress I chose with confidence, I replied. The dress I picked is beautiful, made with lots of lace and tulle, created by a famous designer. Just imagining myself in it, standing next to Scott at the perfect venue, makes me excited for our wedding day. It feels like a dream come true. But not everything in my life has been going smoothly. Amy, did you really manage to marry Scott? Don't you think he'll regret it? My sister Lauren said, smirking. Lauren, that's not something you should say, even as a joke, I snapped back. When I visited home, Lauren, who is 3 years younger than me, was lounging on the couch. She always knew how to say things that hurt. Even though she pretends she's joking, I know Lauren is being serious. Scott is so handsome. He's way too good looking for someone like you, she continued. You can't judge people by how they look, Lauren. Marriage is about much more than appearances. I replied, well, coming from you, that might actually sound believable. I never thought you'd get married before me, Lauren said. Stop it, I yelled. Lauren is always so confident, constantly working on her makeup and hairstyles to impress men. She's the type of person who checks herself in the mirror all the time. Ever since we were kids, she would often make fun of me in front of others, saying things like, unlike me, my big sister isn't pretty. It's like she always needed to be the one on top. But even though she focused so much on looks, I never felt like I was less than her in other ways. Our relationship as sisters has never been great, and lately, her behavior has been even weirder. Hey, Amy, remember when Scott came over to meet our family recently? I was there too, right? Did Scott say anything about me? She asked. What do you mean? I replied. Like, wow, you have such a cute sister, or maybe something like your sister is more refined and beautiful than you, she said. I was frustrated. I'm leaving, I said, trying to get out of our parents' house. As I was about to go, Lauren muttered to herself, acting all high and mighty just because you managed to get married, even though you're still so plain. Just wait and see. Excuse me, did you say something? I asked. Just go home already, she snapped back. This attitude wasn't new, so I left without thinking much of it. But things got even stranger later. On the day Scott and I were having our pre-wedding photo shoot, Lauren came to the location with our parents to watch. Oh, so this is the dress you're going to wear on the big day, she commented. Lauren, the shoot is about to start. Could you please move aside? I asked. I was scheduled for a solo photo session first, and as the preparations were being made in the cathedral where the ceremony would take place, Lauren kept walking around, not caring about anyone else. All right, I'll move. What's the big deal? Just because you're in a wedding dress, you're acting like you're the star, she said. Well, I kind of am the star today, since it's my pre-wedding shoot. We need to move quickly, or it'll be a problem for everyone, I replied. She scoffed. Typical. You try to be liked by being so considerate, but really, you're just plain. And just so you know, that dress doesn't suit you at all, Lauren whispered to me, making sure our parents, Scott, and his mother couldn't hear her. Just as I was about to respond, she walked away. I was about to respond, but Lauren just walked away with a smile. The photo session began, but her cruel words lingered in my mind, making it hard for me to smile naturally. As the pre-wedding shoot went on, my smile felt more and more forced. Are you nervous, Amy? Asked Scott's mother, my future mother-in-law. We hadn't met many times, but she was always gentle and kind. I'm just having a little trouble smiling, I said. Sorry to keep you waiting. It's okay. You look beautiful in that dress. Take your time with the photos. You deserve to be admired for as long as possible, she reassured me. Her kind words helped for a moment, But Lauren soon ruined the mood again. Are you going to make trouble for your in-laws? I feel sorry for them, having such an incompetent daughter-in-law. Who would want someone like you? Lauren said with a smirk. Lauren, please stop, I responded, trying to stay calm. At that moment, my future mother-in-law stepped in. She smiled warmly and said, "It's so nice of you to come and support your sister, but this is Amy and my son's special day. Please give them some space." She gently took Lauren by the hand and led her to the corner of the venue. As the shoot continued, Lauren stood there with a sour look on her face, clicking her tongue in frustration, making the atmosphere tense. "Maybe your sister feels like I've stolen you from her," Scott joked, trying to lighten the mood. "I'm so sorry," I apologized, feeling the weight of Lauren's presence even more. It made the day feel exhausting, but eventually, the shoot was done, and I started feeling more prepared for the big day. There's no such thing as being too prepared for one of the most important days of your life. As my wedding day approached, I double-checked everything to make sure it was perfect. Scott and I traveled from our new home to the venue, and when we arrived, we went to separate dressing rooms to get ready. Soon, the moment I had been dreaming of for so long would finally come. I would wear the wedding dress I had always imagined and vow eternal love to Scott. A childhood dream was about to become real. I felt a mix of nervousness and pure joy as I approached the door to the bridal dressing room. Just as I was about to open the door, it swung open from the inside. To my surprise, it was Lauren who stepped out, closing her bag with a smug look on her face. "Lauren, what are you doing here?" I asked, confused. "Oops, I mistook it for the bathroom," she said, smirking. "Is this really the bride's dressing room? It's so shabby. But I guess it suits you." With those cruel words, Lauren quickly left. It was strange for her to be here so early, and I couldn't help but feel uneasy about her odd behavior. I walked into the bridal dressing room and was shocked by what I saw. The room, which had been elegantly decorated to create a calm and peaceful atmosphere, now showed a terrible scene. My wedding dress, the one I had dreamed of, was hanging there, completely slashed and ruined. "What is this?" I exclaimed. The dress, with its beautiful lace details, was supposed to be mine. I stood frozen in front of the destroyed dress, unable to believe what I was seeing. Just then, the makeup and wardrobe staff came into the room. They saw me standing still, staring at the mess, and couldn't hide their shock. I asked them if anyone had been in the room, and they told me that my sister, Lauren, had asked them to leave, saying she was setting up a surprise for me. Could Lauren have done this? Why would she ruin my dress like this? As much as I didn't want to believe it, everything pointed to her being the one who did it. Her strange behavior ever since I got engaged, and the way she had glared at me during the pre-wedding shoot, made me even more suspicious. With shaky hands, I pulled out my phone and called Lauren. She answered right away. "What do you want?" Lauren asked. Trying to hold back my tears, I asked her directly, "Lauren, can you tell me what you were doing in my dressing room earlier?" "Huh? Didn't I tell you I mistook it for the bathroom? Have you already forgotten, or are you really that dumb?" she replied. "That's a lie. You ruined my wedding dress, didn't you?" I confronted her, my emotions rising. Lauren laughed. "What? Something wrong with the dress? It's pretty awful that you'd suspect me. Maybe it's just karma for your bad attitude. You sound like you're enjoying this. That just proves you did it. Why did you destroy my dress?" I demanded, my voice filled with anger. "Oh, what a hassle," Lauren said, sounding bored. "Do you have any proof that I did it? And honestly, isn't it weird that someone as plain as you is getting married before me? You'd probably look better in that torn-up dress anyway." Even the groom and the guests would agree. With that, Lauren hung up the phone. I stood there, staring at the dress in front of me. It was beyond repair. The staff, who had left the room earlier at Lauren's request, kept apologizing over and over. But no matter how many times they said sorry, the dress couldn't be fixed. I kept telling them, "It's okay," but inside, I wasn't sure if anything was okay at all. I thought I wouldn't be able to go through with the ceremony in the middle of all this stress and sadness. Then, there was a gentle knock on the door of the bridal dressing room. "Amy, how's the preparation going?" my mother-in-law asked as she stepped in. She was bringing some refreshments for the staff, but the moment she saw the ruined dress, her face turned serious. "What happened to the dress?" she asked, shocked. I started to explain. "The truth is, my sister..." My mother-in-law listened quietly and nodded. "I see," she said. "But it's a good thing we prepared a backup dress, just in case." "Backup dress? What do you mean?" I asked, confused. "I have a suggestion," she said, her usual calm tone replaced by a more serious expression. She laid out a plan. If I supported her idea, she promised to help make everything perfect. Thanks to her strategy, I found the strength to move forward with the wedding I had almost considered canceling. Just watch, Lauren, I thought to myself. I'll show you how happy and radiant I can be. Seeing my renewed energy, the staff got even more excited and worked hard to make everything perfect. My emotions were different from how I had felt that morning. I was now ready to face the wedding head-on. The magnificent chapel was set outside, and as the solemn music began to play, the large doors in front of me opened. My father was waiting there, and the aisles stretched out before us, leading to the altar where Scott stood, waiting for me. As I walked down the aisle with my father, I heard guests gasp in surprise. My father had tears in his eyes, and Scott, who didn't know what had happened with the dress, looked surprised as well. With my veil still on, I stole a glance at Scott's face, then quickly looked at the family seats. There was Lauren, expecting me to show up in a torn or badly prepared dress. Her expression was priceless. Her mouth was wide open in shock, and she couldn't move. I walked past her, straight to Scott. After my father gave me away, I took Scott's hand. I noticed Lauren fidgeting with a handkerchief she was holding. We exchanged rings, shared our vows, kissed, and walked out to a shower of flower petals. As we passed Lauren during our exit, I saw her pulling on the handkerchief, which finally tore at her hands. This ceremony wasn't about troubling my sister. It was about sharing our joy. At that moment, I forgot all about Lauren and focused on the happiness of the day. After we finished taking group photos outside the chapel, we were directed to the reception venue. It was good that everything had gone smoothly in the end. I was really surprised you chose such a beautiful dress, my husband said as we shared a few words before heading back to our dressing rooms. The atmosphere was light and happy as guests started making their way to the reception. Suddenly, I heard Lauren shout loudly, "Wait! Why are you wearing such a nice dress?"
Lauren pointed at me.
"What's with that long veil, the tiara, and even your shiny chest? Why are you standing out so much? You're supposed to be less noticeable than me. You don't have the right to act so confident." Lauren's words were loud and full of frustration, even though she seemed to admire the dress at the same time. The dress I wore was indeed beautiful. It had a long veil made of high-quality lace, a glamorous tiara decorated with Swarovski crystals, and the silk fabric shimmered under the light. The full hem of the dress gave it a royal look, and the chest was delicately adorned with crystals too. It doesn't matter if I'm beautiful or not. Every bride has the right to wear a dress she loves and enjoy her special day. You always look down on me, Lauren. But who do you think you are? I shot back, standing my ground. Lauren scoffed. Everyone knows that beautiful people are above the ugly ones. Ugly people have a lower status. Look at me. I take care of myself, and I'm clearly more beautiful, she said, turning to the guests with a smug smile. The guests, including our parents, were shocked into silence. Seeing their reaction, Lauren took it as agreement and continued. "See? I'm definitely more beautiful, yet I don't even have a boyfriend, and my ugly sister gets married first? I can't accept this." Her anger flared, and she glared at me before suddenly lunging at me. "It's pitiful that someone as ugly as you would wear this. Take it off right now and apologize to the dress," she shouted. "Lauren, stop. This is an important wedding dress. It's borrowed from Scott's mom. It's the dress she wore at her own wedding, so don't touch it." I cried out, trying to stop her. Before Lauren could cause any more trouble, the venue staff and Scott quickly stepped in to hold her back. She struggled at first but froze when she heard what I said. "Wait, so it's a second-hand dress?" she sneered. "So you were wearing rags after all? Treating something second-hand like it's special, you really are poor. Plus, getting rags from your mother-in-law? You're already being bullied, aren't you? No dreams, no hopes." "Serves you right," she said with a cruel smirk. Her words stung, but I stayed calm, knowing that nothing she said could ruin my day. "I will not allow you to call this dress a rag," Scott's mother quietly intervened, stepping forward with a calm smile. "This dress is a haute couture piece, custom-made. It originally cost $500,000. $500,000? Lauren exclaimed, shocked. "The price of silk and Swarovski crystals has gone up since then, so it's likely worth even more now," Scott's mother continued. "We've had experts take care of it, so it's in perfect condition." Hearing this, Lauren's face turned pale. The mention of the actual price seemed to shake her deeply. "Why would you give such an expensive dress to my sister?" Lauren stammered. Because Amy is kind and will make a wonderful bride, Scott's mother said gently. It brings me great joy to know that my treasured wedding dress is being worn by my dear daughter-in-law. That's not the point. Why was such an amazing dress prepared in the first place? Lauren pressed, clearly upset. She had probably assumed there was no backup dress when she ruined the original one. Scott's mother smiled slightly at Lauren and said, Lauren, I noticed how you glared at Amy during the pre-wedding shoot, even after I asked you to give her space. I saw you looking at that dress on your phone, and had a feeling you might try something. I thought you were just an old lady, Lauren muttered under her breath. Yes, but our family is well off, and we're very sensitive to other people's intentions, Scott's mother replied smoothly. That comment seemed to hit Lauren hard. Wait, you're wealthy? So Scott is rich too? He's rich and handsome. Then why did he choose my sisters? Lauren shouted, growing more confused and frustrated. Why did I marry Amy's? Scott said, joining the conversation with a shy smile. I was planning to talk about it in my speech at the reception. He turned to Lauren, who was now red with frustration. When I first went out with Amy, she suggested we split the bill. I was surprised. It was the first time anyone had ever suggested that. She even wanted to split the cost of our apartment rent and the wedding expenses. What? Going Dutch? I don't get it. If Scott is rich, he should pay for everything. Amy, you should let a man take care of you. That's why you're a flawed woman, Lauren criticized. Scott shook his head. That's exactly it. Every woman I've dated saw me as just a wallet, but Amy didn't. She's truly independent, and I realized I didn't want to be with anyone else but her. He then continued, speaking about other reasons why he loved me, standing firm in his words. Lauren clicked her tongue in frustration, clearly unhappy with the answers she had received. I can't listen to this. It's boring, and I'm not interested in a reception where my plain sister is the star. Maybe I should just go home, Lauren said, venting her frustration. Then, as usual, she lost her motivation and relaxed her shoulders. This was typical of her. Either she'd cause a scene until she got what she wanted, or until she got bored. As her sister, I had always tolerated her behavior, but it was clear her personality hadn't improved as she grew older. I realized it was time to teach her a final lesson. Grabbing her arm to stop her as she yawned, I said, This is a good time to tell you. You'll have to pay for the dress you ruined. Lauren grimaced, then laughed smugly. Me? Ruin the dress? There's no proof. Why don't you save your bedtime stories for when you're asleep? She shrugged off my hand and chuckled, clearly pleased with herself for ruining my chosen dress. But I stayed calm. It was time to show her what happens when someone tries to destroy another's happiness. Seeing how satisfied she looked, I smiled and said, Unfortunately for you, everything was recorded on the surveillance cameras. I had them installed in the bridal dressing room. I'm even thinking about filing a criminal complaint for property damage. I hate the idea of having a criminal in the family on my wedding day. Lauren's smile disappeared instantly, replaced by shock and panic. What? You have cameras? Since when do weddings have that? It's not an option at every wedding, I replied. I had them installed just for today, and they'll be removed tomorrow. How can you just install and remove things on your own? That's ridiculous, Lauren said, still in disbelief. This venue is the wedding venue I own, I explained. What? You're the owner? I thought you were just a plain office worker, she exclaimed, her shock growing. Plain or not, it's true I was an office worker until recently, I continued. But my passion for wedding dresses and weddings grew, and I decided to open my own wedding venue. It wasn't just my savings that made it possible. Scott's mother, who is also an investor, supported me, helping me create a wedding venue for brides. And this place? It's the one I manage. Lauren's face twisted with disbelief. No way. I've never heard anything like this from Mom or Dad. Ask them to keep it a secret from you. I figured you'd think it was ridiculous for someone with my ugly appearance to run a company, I said. As Lauren listened, her expression softened. I could see the struggle in her mind as she tried to process everything I had just revealed. I have a lot of wealthy relatives, I mentioned. Lauren's eyes lit up. Oh. Then you can introduce me to a rich man, right? Yay, she exclaimed, clearly missing the point. Lauren, do you really think we can continue as sisters after this? You tore up a dress that was special to me. I never want to see your face again, I said, my anger simmering. What? Why are you saying that? It was just a little prank. I already said I'm sorry, didn't I? Lauren's apology felt empty, and she acted like it didn't matter. Her careless attitude pushed me over the edge. A little prank? You think ruining something important to me is just a joke? I will never forgive you for this. It's good I have this beautiful dress from Scott's mom, but the one you destroyed was also precious to me. I'm definitely going to ask for compensation. Compensation? Are you serious? How much does a wedding dress even cost? I don't have any real savings. Lauren panicked. If you don't pay, I'll report it to the police. Did you really think you could bully your ugly, plain sister all your life and get away with it? That's no joke, Lauren. Grow up, I said firmly. My words hit her hard, and she collapsed into a chair, powerless. Our parents, who had been quietly watching, started crying. Their tears were different from the joyful ones they shed during the ceremony. Lauren's selfish actions had hurt them deeply, and I realized just how much sadness she had caused them. Amy is truly amazing. She's the kind of entrepreneur I'm proud to support. I'm lucky she wore my wedding dress and that I invested in her business, Scott's mother said warmly. Mom, that's my line. Please don't say it before I do, Scott joked with a smile. Watching Scott and his mom talk so casually, I felt a wave of relief. After sending Lauren home, we returned to the reception, which continued warmly despite the earlier drama. It ended up being the best wedding for me because I was able to strengthen my bond with Scott's family. After the wedding, our parents were furious with Lauren. They apologized to me for being too easy on her for so long and strongly condemned her actions. Lauren was expelled from the house by our parents. She couldn't change her job to afford the dress she ruined, so she rented a small apartment near our parents' house. Staying close to home meant she couldn't escape the gossip about what had happened at my wedding. Since we were close in age, the news spread quickly, and Lauren became the talk of the town. Every time she tried to reconnect with old friends, they avoided her, which upset her so much that she moved out of state. The long commute to work drained her time and savings, leaving her struggling financially. Now, her entire salary and bonuses go toward paying for the dress, and she lives a tight, restricted life. Once a confident trendsetter, she can no longer afford makeup or fashionable clothes at work, and her lifestyle has completely changed. Now, Lauren quietly goes through her days, wearing messy clothes and occasionally casting jealous glances at her colleagues. Her only escape is social media, but her posts, full of despair, are driving more people away. Meanwhile, Scott and I are happily enjoying our marriage. He stays busy with his job, and I've started designing unique wedding dresses at our venue, just like my mother-in-law suggested. Investors who believe in my love for wedding dresses have encouraged me, saying that if I love them, I can definitely create dresses that brides will adore. Though it's a new and challenging task, there's a special joy in crafting the perfect dress using beautiful lace, tulle, and silk. The memory of the dress Lauren destroyed still hurts, but looking at the photos of me in Scott's mother's dress, where we made our vows, helps me heal a little each day. The best part is being there when a bride I've dressed celebrates the happiest day of her life. This has brought me a new sense of joy in weddings. I'm thankful every day for Scott's love and for my mother-in-law, who supported me when my dress was ruined and continues to support me in my work. Oddly enough, I even feel a bit thankful to Lauren. Her actions only made me realize how much I truly love wedding dresses.
Alright, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, I'm thirsty. Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime, he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance. As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them. It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. All right, everyone's presentations are done. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me. There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. Still here? Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. I'm leaving. I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! What's wrong? Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, "Get his boss here immediately." It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. "What is that idiot doing?" "All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next." Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. "If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you." I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was, as the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. "Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize." Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. "What kind of training are you giving your subordinates?" Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed, I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? "I'm very sorry." Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, "I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong." "Mike, what have you done?" Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You're still saying that? Look at him." Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. "I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract?" Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. "Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go." Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. "Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him." There's no way he was pushed aside. "Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he?" I don't remember that part." I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.